All right. We should be live. I'm currently waiting for a couple people to jump on, but if you're watching this later, welcome. You're watching a live recording, or if you're jumping on right now, let's start getting the chat moving and start introducing yourselves. If you've been on the live stream before, you know that we like to start off with a little bit of roll call and just let us know who's out there, where you're from, and how your day's going. Jules, what's up, buddy? Good seeing you. I actually got your zine in the mail just a second ago, so I did swing by the post office, and I really appreciate that. I might bring it up later on in the live stream, but I'm really loving this. So I've gone through it just briefly before jumping on here, but thank you for sending that over. Anna, hey, good seeing you. John, what's up, buddy? Good seeing you out there. Finzi says, "Yo, Nick, what are you going to do now that Ilford changed box art?" That's a good question. I haven't seen any of the new box art. What does it look like? I'm not sure. I haven't bought any new rolls. It's probably not in stores yet with their new box, but that's interesting. I actually, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that they were changing the box art. I'm gonna pop this out here real quick. Pop out chat. Get this moved over. There we go. Mateo says, "Hey Nick," and hey everyone else. Hey buddy. Joseph says, "Yo Nick, hyped for the live stream." I am too. I think this is going to be another lively one. The last few live streams that we've done have just been absolutely amazing. So I'm really stoked to see where this one heads as well. It's humbling because I've already heard back from a few people today already that they've kind of started implementing the tips and techniques that we talked about on the 2 Minute Tuesday this morning and have already gotten some sales. So I'm super excited and just incredibly humbled to hear just different testimonies coming in from people being able to actually sell some of their work and make a good side income to help fund future projects and different things like that. So let's see here. Brad says, "Hey Nick, hey everyone, hey buddy." Spencer, hey amigo, good seeing you out there. John says, "No, they only announced this past week the updated boxes." Okay, yeah, it'll probably be a bit before they actually hit the stores. They have had those boxes for quite a while, so I do think it's probably time for them to update them. So I never get bothered by that kind of stuff. Anna O'Brien says, "Excited for this live stream and connecting with all of you as well as always." Nice. Thomas says, "Hello everyone, greetings from Belgium." Belgium, that's awesome. Stoked for this live stream. I am too. Hello from Kingston, Canada. Peter, hey, good seeing you out there. Yeah, I'm just kind of talk a little bit about today's, and actually I need to change our live stream title here real quick. Hopefully it updates it as we go. Let's do avoiding mistakes. There we go. Oh, I don't know if that actually updates. Yes, it does. Sweet. All right. Peter, fellow Canadian. Yes. Peter, if you don't know John, John is awesome. He's from Canada as well. And you guys should connect. And if you guys are I don't know where Kingston is, and I don't know anything about Canada too much. Apart from I've traveled through it a couple times. I did go to Stratford-on-Avon at one point to see a Shakespeare festival, but I can't even tell you where that is. It was a school field trip back in the day. Good afternoon. Looking forward to today's topic. I am as well. Anthony says, "Hello everyone. It's been a while. Miss y'all. Good to see you back here, buddy." And you still have admin capabilities, so I guess if anything unruly comes in, I still give you the power to throw down the ban hammer. Peter says, "Just started Kingston Film Shooters a few weeks ago. Would love to see you out, John, if you're in the area." Nice. Dylan, good seeing you. Anyone from Oregon? Yes. I love when I get to watch people throughout the chat kind of connect with each other, and that's one of my favorite things about this whole community is really connecting other people together versus just me connecting with everyone. So I enjoy connecting with everyone, but I also enjoy when I get to hear people who have gotten to be friends with other people in the area that they didn't know was shooting film or didn't know was just shooting in general, and we're able to meet up and different things like that. So yeah, these live streams are kind of fun for the whole family, it feels like. So anyways, I want to kick off and not go too far into, we're about 5.5 minutes in. So, you know, as you're coming in, you know, you could continue throwing out your shout out and where you're from. But I do want to jump into today's episode, just because I do think that we're probably gonna have a lot to cover, and I kind of want to do just some fielding of question and answers of anything that you guys have been wrestling through with trying to sell your work, or putting projects together and getting to the thought process of even thinking about selling your work or whatever it might be. But I really want to dive into that and then kind of talk about these 5 different areas, you know, as much as you guys would like to talk about them, that I've watched over and over and over again, that I've fallen into in the past, that have held me back from making sales, and I know are holding some other people back from making sales as well. So one of the big things was, you know, I'll kind of start off with the first one, because I do think that the first one is probably one of the biggest issues that I see over and over and over again, and it's throwing out far too many options. And we've talked about it and touched on it in live streams in the past, but really kind of going through and understanding that sometimes we could give far too many options for people to start choosing from. And that's one of the things that I think is a reason why zines sell so good, is because it's just one option. I don't know too many people that are dropping multiple zines at one time. So just giving that one zine and being able to focus on pushing that one zine, I do think that that's why zines are a very hot commodity when it comes to selling our work. But when it comes to prints, I've watched a lot of people just throw out tons of options, or just give the, hey, ask me for anything and I can print anything and everything that you want. And I think that there's something behind making it kind of more of a special thing when you're actually making prints. I don't mean to say that you have to, you know, turn down print sales if somebody comes to you and says, hey, can I buy a print of this? And you go, oh no, sorry, I only sell them when I sell them. I do think that there's kind of a both and approach to it, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think on this, or if you do have some thoughts on any of the other topics that we talked about on the 2 Minute Tuesday this morning. Go ahead and throw those out there. I'd also like to throw out this question to go, our last 2 topics that we talked about in this series of selling our artwork. So the first topic about building the emotional connection between you and the seller and what that looks like, or the second topic of finding your target audience and understanding who it is that will emotionally respond, or who it is that will be pulling the trigger on your artwork in the first place. I want to hear if you guys have started implementing any of those thought processes, if you've started thinking a little bit deeper into that whole thought process, and what's that done for you selling your artwork. What's that done for you even thinking about presenting your even just photos in a different audience and trying to put it in front of a different audience. So yeah, any questions? We're just kind of doing an open call, free for all today, but if there aren't any questions, I'll kind of direct us down a path. Ellen said, I saw Jules and Hannah saying these streams are coming at the perfect time for them, and honestly it's oddly similar with me. Just completed my first zine. Cool to kind of go on the journey with others. Yes, there's a lot of zines being finished up and accomplished right now, so I do think that these are well timed. And you know, it's kind of the natural progression. You know, we've done a series, and I still have things to add to the series, but on building zines and on, you know, printing zines, you know, the next progression of the series is, you know, selling these things. Sometimes we print everything up and then we go, oh wait, yeah, I printed them all up, now I got to put them in front of people, now I got to learn how to actually sell these things. So so yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that these are well-timed videos, well-timed live streams, and I hope to hear that you guys are having great successes on pushing your zines out in front of people, and your prints, and whatever else it might be. Spencer Reed says, how much should you usually sell prints for? You know, it really varies. If you're just getting going, and if you're having a tough time trying to decide on a price, a good starting price is just doing $20 for a 4x6 or $20 for a 5x7. It's something that's easily approachable by a wide audience, but it's also something that will give you a good sense of accomplishment when you sell it, because if you're doing prints properly, you can get a fantastic quality print for next to nothing, so you're still making a good profit. And it also starts to build up your courage to be able to start asking a little bit more. What I did was I think I started off at $15 for my 4x6s, and after I sold about 10 of them, I bumped it up to $20. After I sold about 10 more, I bumped it up to $25 or $30. And, you know, you just kind of keep on raising them the more that you sell. Once you know that there's actually a market out there that wants to purchase, now you can feel a little bit more confident of raising your prices, bumping up, or even double it. Go from $15 if you start off at 15 to 30, and then see. And, you know, just kind of gauge it. So there's no right or wrong answer in all that. And then there's times to where I've sold larger prints for like $250 to $400, and then there's times where I've sold much larger prints for much more than that. So and then it also, you know, Spencer, to answer the question even further, is you really have to think about what your market is that you're presenting to. I price pieces much different in gallery settings than I do on Instagram. I price them much different in coffee shops than I do in gallery settings, you know, and it's so really kind of gauging the market and building something, catering a product line to it, is a wise thing to do as well. So hopefully that answers your question. We could dive into more of that if you have any other questions. Michael Boorman says, I guess I'd love to know, how do you know what to select for sale? Like, do you just pick your favorites? I guess it comes back to knowing your audience, right? Yes, it's a bit of both. You know, I do like selling my favorites. I mean, this is one of the things to where I think we touched on it a little bit last week's live stream, is I get to these points to where I see images and I spend time with my images over and over and over again, and I just get to a point where I want to put them in people's hands, and I want to get them out in people's hands, and sometimes it's just I'm so excited to put them in people's hands that I do a print sale for far less than what I know that I could sell them for, just so then more people can approach them and more people can have this print. I get that excited about my my work. On the other hand, like you said, it is knowing your audience. So when you're selling in a coffee shop, I think approaching something and thinking through the mindset of somebody's coming in, drinking their coffee, experiencing the piece above them at the coffee shop. So let's say they're sitting at the table underneath the piece, you know, thinking about what is it that they're going to respond to. We talked about it, I think it was last week's live stream too, a little bit, to where we talked about them wanting to bring home a bit of the coffee shop. This is one of the reasons why I love coffee shops for displaying artwork, is because for a lot of people it feels like home away from home, and sometimes it's just playing off of that idea and allowing them to bring some of the home away from home into their home. So playing off of the coffee shop, playing off of the vibe of the coffee shop, building something, building a series of work, or even just a single piece that you're going to display up that feels very much like that coffee shop, because they're already approaching that coffee shop because they love the vibe. You get these regulars that are in there week after week after week, and now there's a piece on the wall that they resonate with, that really resonates with the space there, that they want to bring home and put in their own little slice of their coffee shop around home, you know. I don't know, I go down these little rabbit trails to where I can kind of picture someone coming into the coffee shop. I've shown at the coffee shop in town a couple times, and I can picture someone coming in, seeing the work on their wall, purchasing the work, and then bringing it home, and then like putting it in their kitchen above their own coffee grinder, you know, and kind of having that little slice of Ferris coffee at home, even though it has nothing really to do with Ferris coffee apart from it got placed in Ferris coffee. And I do choose work that feels very much like that vibe. So hopefully that answers your question. Again, we can really expound on any of these things that you guys want to, but you could start off with your favorites. I'd say just start off with your favorites, and just, you know, if your favorites are portraits of you know, your niece, you probably understand that most of the people that are going to buy that are really just your family members, you know. So having realistic understanding of your favorites, you know, if you're doing street photography, that's a different thing, but you know, if you're doing portraiture or something like that, you have to realize that not everyone's going to be in the market for buying a portrait of someone they have no idea of. So again, that's when it comes back to knowing your audience. Hannah says, congrats on completing your first zine. Yes, I don't even know if I said that a second ago. Congrats, buddy. That's awesome. It is. John says, it's been a little while since I shot anything that was not my child, but I'm itching to get out and do some photos now other than my family. Yes. And, you know, sometimes a lot of the times we think that this stuff has to be stuff from the recent archive. But I enjoy digging deep, going back to 2014, 2013, and selling works from then too, you know, going back and doing some throwback sales and selling some of the older work that hasn't seen the light of day for a little bit. It's kind of fun that way. So, Hannah says, no worry at all. Alan says, thanks, Hannah. Awesome. John says, so we'll be making prints and starting to sell again. Nice. How to determine what to sell. We just covered that with answering Michael's. So hopefully that answered your question, Spencer. Dylan says, I just got accepted to a local Jerd artist market last night. So yeah, this stream couldn't have been a better timing for me. Oh, nice. Congrats, man. So was it Jerd to be put into the artist market, or is there artist market and contest that goes along with it? I'm curious to hear. That's a great point. Realistic understanding of favorites. Love that. Yet another gold nugget. Thanks, buddy. It's you know, the reason why I have these little tidbits of understanding is because I failed my way through it. I was trying to sell all sorts of stuff that when I started actually thinking about it and going, wait, I understand why these are my favorites, but why the heck would I expect anybody else to buy this? It became a much different thing. I started actually looking at works that I could picture on somebody's wall, works that are a little bit more ambiguous, and more suitable for other works and other people's walls and stuff like that. So Jules says, I very much like the idea of exposing work in a coffee shop. But just to make things clear, do you agree with owners on a share of potential sales to engage them in exposing your work? And if so, what percentage do you give them? Yes. So I fully do believe in the idea that if a place, whether it be a coffee shop or a gallery, is going to partner with you, you know, then they should be getting a commission on it. You know, they're the ones who, you're utilizing their space to put it in front of their clientele, their customer bases. And there's a certain level of trust that goes along with that. They're trusting you to put pieces in that are going to, you know, appease, for a lack of a better terminology, appease their clientele well. So, I think they're due a commission, and really it's subject to wherever you're going. So the coffee shop that I partner with, I'm trying to think, I think it's only like 10%, which is measly compared to most places are anywhere from 40 to 60% of a sale. So you really have to gauge. The places that are a little bit more established are 40 to 60%. And then that's also part of the reason why pieces that you see at galleries are so highly priced, is because they're also adding on the commission of the shop or the gallery or the, you know, art museum, whatever it is that's showing it. They're adding in the commission space for that. So that's why these prices are inflated in a reasonable way. So yeah, you know, in some coffee shop instances, you might be able to negotiate the commission, but at the same time, why would you even want to? You know, I would say build a long-lasting relationship with different coffee shops or different gallery spaces, and really get to know the owners, really get to know the people that are serving there, and build a relationship with them, because it could be a long-term relationship that could pay off over the long term versus just selling one or two prints. one of the big benefits is being able to do pop-up shops within pop-up shops within these different coffee shops or gallery spaces, and being able to do something on the drop of a hat or drop of a dime, however you want to say that, is important too. So yes, I do partner with places that have commissions, and I have no problem with that. Dylan says there was an application process with judges and whatnot. Nice, that's awesome, Dylan. Congrats, man. That's a big accomplishment if you got chose by a juror audience. So that's exciting. Michael says, I appreciate how you've gone from I failed my way through to I'll help out the community to share what I've found to work. Yeah, like, this is the thing, is I just want to serve you guys, and I want to offer as much wisdom, for the lack of a better word, to help you guys be able to cut that gap. I don't fall into the whole old school mentality of, oh, they got to get their bruises in order to, you got to go out there and it's a hard knock life. And I'm just going, look, I'm no giant, but if you could stand on my shoulders and learn from the mistakes that I've made, and if I can help you bridge the gap, because the reality was my work really started taking a turn when I was able to start selling it, because it was no longer funding projects coming out of my pocket. It was now a self-sustaining artwork, to where now my print sales, my zine sales, were paying for trips, were paying for film costs and developing costs, and paying for scanners and new equipment. And it was no longer something that I had to work hard outside of photography to build up to. It was something that my photography was feeding into. And because of that, one, it gave me a larger drive to improve my artwork, but then two, it really gave me the freedom and the flexibility to be able to do the things that I wanted to do within my artwork. And I want to give that to you guys. I'm not intimidated by people going off and doing greater things than I, with selling their work, or with doing, more. I hope that you guys kick my tail with your photography. I hope that the things that I share with you guys push you to a place to where you're just completely destroying my Instagram, whatever. And you're just making amazing work that's selling off the shelves, because that's where I find my success. I enjoy the things that I do within my own artwork, and I really do push myself to succeed in that way. But at the same time, if I can have a legacy more so than just my artwork, but the other people's artwork that I've been able to affect and impact and serve, then that's the real winning for me at the end of it all. So Spencer says, how would you suggest creating a business? Spencer, it depends on what you're asking. Creating a business around your photography, if that's the case, then right now, let's see here, you had a second comment here, so maybe it was actually, how do you know if you're good enough to actually be ready to sell your work? Okay, so I think that those are two different questions. I'm going to answer those in two different ways. How would you suggest creating a business? One of the easiest things to do is just do a doing business as, it's called the DBA. You can actually go register as a DBA, or you could just be an independent contractor, and you can file your taxes that way. So I do highly suggest that you, I would never suggest anything other than actually doing your taxes properly, getting a CPA, or if you're very savvy with your taxes, making sure that you're claiming all of the income that you're getting with selling your work. Emily and I do that for both of our artwork. In also doing that, you can write off a lot of different things, like paper costs or film costs or traveling expenses, and workshops that you might do, any kind of training or resources that you're doing. You could also go the LLC route, which means that you're a limited liability company. There's also C Corp and S Corp, and I'm not familiar with too much of those. The two that I am somewhat familiar with is LLC, which is what our wedding business is and was. We're not really doing the wedding business right now, but we still have our LLC. And what that means is, if whatever reason, if we happen to miss the first kiss and we got sued by a client, it doesn't come back on us. The limited liability means that, my social security number and my identity isn't sued based off of what I'm doing in my business. So let's say, God forbid, a light stand fell and hit someone. you know, and we got sued for that. That goes on the business side, and that's tapping into the business income. They can't come after my personal finances. They could only come after suing my business finances, if that makes sense. Doing business as is a much more simple way of going about, you know, doing artist business and different things like that. But if you get sued, you get sued. If there's any liability, it's on you. There's all sorts of different resources online. I'm not trying to pretend to be any kind of lawyer or give any kind of legal advice. I'm not telling you to go either way. I do suggest that if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, to really go in and you know, find a lawyer, find a business lawyer, and have them walk you through what the best options are for you to go. So I'm going to come back to some of these other comments. I had already said that Spencer asked a second thing, so I'm just going to answer that right now. He said, how do you know if you're good enough to actually be ready to sell your work? Spencer, I think that's a great question. I think that's a very humble question to be asking. And I really strongly suggest that you reach out to some people that you admire and just ask them for their honest opinion. Just go, hey, what do you think about my work? Do you think I'm ready to start pressing into the sales market? And get their honest opinion, and then be willing to receive the criticism or the encouragement that they give you. You know, if it's a, hey, no, we think that you should go press in and continue to expound on this project or push into your artwork a little bit more, you know, push in and really hone in for the next 3 to 5 months, and then reapproach them and go, hey, how about now? Or if you want to skip that process and just kind of see, make 2 prints, put them up on your story, and see if people are, you know, tell the story behind the prints, do all the right things that we're talking about, and see what's happening with people. See if people are actually responding and pulling the trigger on them. You know, sometimes your audience is the best way to gauge whether or not they're ready to purchase your work, or whether your work is ready to be purchased. So, but that could be quite humbling if you're putting yourself on the line and no one responds. So I would suggest going and finding some mentors, finding some people that you've seen that you admire their work, and asking their opinion. Flaneur with a camera says, where would be the best place to sell your work online? I got this question a couple times today, and I answered a few different answers. So I would say there's 3 different places that I would suggest looking into. First one being just on Instagram. So I started off just selling on Instagram and posting up just prints and pictures of prints. Thank you, baby. Emily's bringing me some water. There she is. You're like the, I was going to say like Sasquatch, but that just makes you sound terrible. You're like the... Yeah, not right now. You're like Bigfoot, the hidden Bigfoot, a brief sighting of Sasquatch running through. Not saying that my wife is Sasquatch, but anyways, all right, thank you, baby. Can you guys see how many glasses she pulled away from my desk? I get to working late night at my desk, and I go down for a glass of water, and I forget that I have another glass of water up here. So I'm one of those guys that my workstation is just an absolute mess. Anyways, sorry, Flaneur. 3 places to sell your work. First of all, I started off by just selling work on Instagram and just posting up pictures of prints, and then when people would want to purchase, I would just either 1, send them a PayPal invoice, or 2, just have them send me the finances through PayPal, and then get their address through Instagram Messenger. And honestly, that's still where I sell most of my prints. Sometimes I'll do a print sale on my website, twostopsapparel.com. But most of the time I'm selling my prints through Instagram. My zines, on the other hand, I do sell through 2 Stops Apparel. Let me take a drink real quick. I do sell through 2 Stops Apparel, and that goes through Shopify. With Shopify, you're going to pay $30 a month to have your Shopify membership. But at the same time, when it comes to doing actual taxes at the end of the year, it's much easier to go about having everything go through one vein versus trying to track everything down on PayPal. And PayPal does make it easy, but at the same time, everything's itemized and cataloged within Shopify in a way that it is not on PayPal, unless you do invoices for absolutely everything, which if you do invoices for everything, then you're set in that way too, and you could still do it free through PayPal. So those are two different options. Third option is Squarespace. I'm not sponsored by Squarespace, but you can do Squarespace. I know that there's a lot of sales tool through Squarespace on there. And then a fourth option is like Etsy. If you just want to put some prints up on Etsy or your zine up on Etsy, I know there's a lot of people that do that as well. So those are a bunch of different options for you guys to kind of check out. I would say that I do absolutely love Squarespace and all the different plugins that they have, all the different capabilities. I mean, they're a sales engine. That's specifically what it is. It's a sales... Wait, did I say Squarespace? I mean Shopify. There's sales, like, yeah, everything that they've built their website around is around selling products and putting it in front of people's eyes. So the customer experience that you can create with that is a really good one. Jules says, fair enough. I am cool with finding places. I feel good stopping by anyway, getting to know people from my town better as well. Nice. Peter says, any advice about approaching a bar or restaurant that you respect, about hopefully hanging some of your printed work? It's always been a dream of mine, but I've never actually taken steps towards this. There's two different things that I would suggest. One is the easiest way is building relationship with them, not in a sense of trying to display work, but in a sense of just building relationship. You know, go in and get to know the manager at the bar. Go in and get to know the manager at the coffee shop. That's what I did with Ferris Coffee. And actually, fun fact is, Ferris Coffee, the coffee shop that I've exhibited at twice, I was their first solo exhibition, and then I've exhibited in a group exhibition there again. Couple different things, but they actually weren't going to be an exhibition place except for our big local exhibition that comes through called Art Prize that happens every year. They weren't going to be a gallery space. They were just going to hang up permanent artwork based around the cherry farms or the Cascara farms that they get their coffee beans from. But because I had relationship with the workers, with the manager, I just approached him and I said, you know what, your space is set up beautifully to display artwork. I would love to exhibit here, and I know that there's so many other artists that would as well. It would pull in a whole new clientele. And what I did was, here's a very, very big tip, is I sold them the idea based off of them winning on the long run. You guys can charge a commission for any sales pieces, so it's another income source for you guys. But then two, it's a great way for bringing customer and clientele in that wouldn't have come in the door otherwise. You know, and now they do a opening reception every single time they showcase some work. So now the artist gets all their friends and family to come in, and now the artist is doing work for them to get new clientele in, and then they're constantly selling or sending people in throughout the month to see the artwork. So, but I was able to sell that and was able to build that that whole vision for them because I had a long-term relationship for them. I mean, Ferris Coffee has been my all-time favorite coffee shop for the last however many years since I started drinking like actual coffee. So I've known them, I've built that relationship. So I'd say build rapport with them, get to know the manager or the owner even better, and then start presenting the idea. Or you could just go in with a portfolio of your work. Print out some 8x10s and go, hey, I would like to show some 10x20s or 10 by whatever it is, 20x30s, 24x36, whatever it might be. Just go, hey, I'd like to show this in here. Here's some samples of my work. I think it would do this for the atmosphere. I think it would do this for your space. I think it would really pull in a whole new crowd. Whatever it is, just, you know, sell it to them. They're much more apprehensive, or they're much more likely to say yes if you actually have works that you can show them. So bring in a portfolio and show it that way. Jacob says, dude, there's a storm happening outside that makes this weekend like nothing, and I only have 2/3 of a roll in the 50. Oh man, yeah, you're gonna you're gonna roll through that. So if you guys didn't know, I was out in New York City this weekend with Jacob, and we were just cruising the streets. I mean, we put in work this weekend. I put in 40,000 steps on Friday, 20,000, like 25,000 steps on Saturday, and then like 15,000 steps on Sunday. And I shot 32 rolls. We did work. And then Sunday was just this crazy, like, fun storm that we were just running around in. We were getting soaked, but we were just having a ball with our cameras. So, Jacob, I could only imagine that you're pushing through that last little 2/3 of your roll. Peter says, I see some photographers have temporary exhibits in certain venues, and I've always been blown away and happy to see great photographic work in a mode other than Instagram. Yeah, it's like getting to see works in spaces is just incredible everywhere. I don't care. We were, speaking of Jacob, we were walking through some of the alleyways in New York, and I say alleyways, they're streets. They just feel like alleyways compared to some of the bigger streets out there. But we were walking down some of the streets, and some of the restaurants, some of the barber shops, like I just couldn't help but to peer in the windows and see some of the black and white works that they had up on the wall. And it was just beautiful, beautiful work of the history of New York. So I think it's so important to show our work in these senses, and also to see other people's work in these senses. Spencer says, how do you improve your style? That's a great question, Spencer. I'm going to give you 3 tips. First of all is to study the works of great artists, not just great photographers, but great artists. I would say definitely great photographers. Look at Bresson, look at Elliot Erwitt, look at, if you're into landscapes, you know, look at some of the greats of landscapes. Study Ansel Adams, you know, he's the classic golden boy of landscapes. You can't get much better than that. You know, whatever it is, start studying the greats within whatever you're looking at. You know, I constantly spend time in the works of Ralph Gibson, of Bresson, of Sergio Lorraine, all these guys that I absolutely love, Jay Maisel, and I just study their works. I don't just flip through their books. I sit and I spend time with their pieces, and I dissect them. I look at them and go, why is this working? What is it saying to me? What did they want to say? Why did they crop it this way? Why did they, you know, and I start thinking through their thought process, and I try to put myself in their shoes of going, they seen something here that caused them to respond and react. What was that thing? But then also looking at, you know, just paintings, and really diving out of just photography and looking at paintings and sculptural work and music, and just really going through that whole route. Second thing I would say is just become a more cultured person. Again, looking at paintings, listening to different music, and really stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone. And then not only surrounding yourself with photography, giving yourself other avenues to be able to express your photographic interest. If you're into soccer, you know, go and like delve in deep into the soccer world, and have your camera with you and just document as you're going through. And it's really going to you know, challenge the way that you see your photography, because now you're approaching things that you're loving, and you're getting more culture, you're reading new books and starting to think in different ways. And I find that one of the biggest things that changes the way that I photograph is changing the way that I think. So I highly suggest going through and just challenging yourself creatively. And then 3 is go back, take everything you learned in those 2 things, and then reapproach your work, reapproach your older work, and see what works in them, what doesn't work in them, and really start to dissect your work and put it up against some of the greats. Don't let it discourage you. It's going to look like crap, you know, and that's not saying that you're making crap work. I'm just saying you take anybody and you put them up next to these greats, and unless they're a great themselves, it's just gonna be a night and day difference. But allow that to inspire you, and allow that to show you where the bridge is within that gap, and then start crossing that bridge. So that's a big thing. Everyone's saying hi to Emily. Thank you guys. I won't yell down because she has her headphones on. And then real quick, this is, you know, about halfway through, so I like to give the whole thing. If you're enjoying this conversation, give it a thumbs up down below. This lets YouTube know that this is a video worth pushing out. getting too fast with my words. I'm talking ahead of myself. And then 2 is, you know, talking about the meetup that I did this weekend, talking about New York City. One of my big efforts is trying to bring these meetups into different areas. I'm looking at possibly an LA meetup within the next month, even if I can make it work, but I would need to find some finances quick. Emily's going away to Vermont for 2 weeks for an artist residency, so I have a buddy that's gonna might be able to put me up out in, I don't know if you're even on here, Brandon, if you're on here. Not even trying to throw this out there and throw you under the bus, but if it works out, I might have a place to stay, so I would need to find some finances for it. But at the same time, this is what the Patreon effort is really trying to help fund the ability to be able to expand beyond just these live streams, but actually take these conversations and take, you know, real life interaction out into other areas versus just Chicago and New York and Grand Rapids. You know, I still love those 3, and we're still going to do meetup after meetup after meetup in these 3, but I really want to push out into, you know, I'd love to do one up in Portland, Oregon. I'd love to do one out in LA and down in Texas and Nashville and DC and all these different areas. So this is what the Patreon effort is all about. So patreon.com/NickExpose if you want to support the channel, if you want to support trying to get me into your area to be able to do a meetup, and I'd love to meet you face to face. Wow, I just felt really salesy, but at the same time, we're in the middle of a sales conversation, so I think it fits. But yeah, go check that out, patreon.com/NickExpose, and thank you to everyone who's in here, who is one of our patrons. This whole thing is possible because you guys are putting your money where your mouth is and helping to support the efforts here. So anyways, getting back into our comments here. Jules says, get someone you admire. Send them a free copy of anything you plan on selling and hope for the best. There you go. Yeah. Try and get the feature on someone's channel or something. I don't know. Speaking of, just because Jules is saying it, I'm going to throw out a little shout out for his. I just got his zine in the mail today, and it is fantastic. It's all hand stitched with this red thread, which I absolutely love that you went with red, Jules. This is fantastic. It's called and I'm probably going to butcher this, from Montmartre, sorry, with love. And absolutely everything about this feels so well thought out and just so incredible. Like, honestly, Jules, when I was flipping through this, so this is all from, I believe it's all from Paris. It starts off saying Paris 2017. But looking through it, it just feels, I don't even know how to explain it. It just feels like something special. Like I'm looking through, I don't know. There's just so much life happening in this. And Jules, it feels like I got to experience life through your life. And I don't know, this is one of my favorite zines that I've gotten, and I am going to be making a video about this soon. This will be in my next community zine video, which I hope to make this weekend. But if you guys don't know, it's Jules Lay. I don't know if you can see. I don't know how to say your last name, Moal. But essentially, his YouTube name here is the exact same thing as his Instagram name, except for he has underscores between each of the different parts of his name. But I highly suggest that you guys go check it out and purchase one, because there's only 15 copies. And I know that some of them have already sold, so get over there and grab one of those before they're gone, because it truly is something special. And while I'm pushing zines, just because I got it right here next to me, and because we're talking about them, get out there, and if you haven't picked up one of the copies of Jacob Murphy's zine, like, go and get it right now. I know we were talking this weekend when I was over at his place, and he only has a handful that he's putting up for sale right now. So go and grab one of those while they're still available. Once again, I think the two of these, New York and Paris, I think you're going to be in good company if you go and just pick up both of these. And I know that the price point, you're not spending like out the tail for either of them. So go and pick those up. Jacob Murphy Photo on Instagram. And this is one of the most creative and thoughtful zines I have ever seen in my life. And I love looking through it time and time again. I loved walking alongside of Jacob and having him point out places that he photographed in this zine while we were walking through New York. So this zine is so near and dear to my heart. Thank you, Jacob, for allowing me to be a part of this. And then if you guys haven't gotten one of those, this is the last bit of sales of this whole thing. Well, we'll talk about sales, but I'm not going to try and push anything else. Go check out those two zines because they're absolutely amazing. Let's see here. Feel free to smack him for calling you that. I'm not saying she I knew that wasn't gonna sound good. I wasn't saying she looked like Sasquatch. I was just saying she was the mythical creature that ran through the background. I knew I was getting myself in trouble. Spencer asks, how do you print your stuff? So I have a printer that currently isn't working because we just switched our internet, and it's a wireless printer. So I have a Pixma Pro. It's the Canon Pixma Pro 100. I absolutely love this printer, but right now I cannot get it to connect to my computer wirelessly. So I gotta either get a wire or I gotta figure out what's going on with my internet. I might just have to restart the internet. I don't know what's going on, but I print on Hanamiel paper, which is pricey at first. But when you break it down, it actually, and you start selling, it's pricey just to buy and print on and then like hand out or something like that. But if you're buying it to print on and sell, it's actually very affordable, and it really takes the quality of your prints to a whole new level. The print quality on this stuff and the paper quality is truly, truly remarkable. For my zines, I go through a local printer here. The one that I've been using is called Crop Marks Printing in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I absolutely love them. And then the next question that you have is, have you ever done enlarging printing before, and do you suggest this option? I have. I'd love printing in the darkroom, but I just don't have the time for it right now, so I've resorted back to mostly inkjet printing over on the Pixma Pro. I highly suggest it if you have the time, if you have the means, if you could set up you know, whether it be a temporary darkroom or a permanent darkroom. It's amazing. The experience of getting into the darkroom and seeing a print come to life is bar none one of the most incredible experiences as a photographer. And then working a print, you know, and dodging and burning, and it's just such an amazing journey from start to finish of a print that I miss. But at the same time, I just can't justify getting into the darkroom right now because I just have so much going on. Flaneur says, thanks, I sold a print on Redbubble but only got about 20% return. Yeah, you know, I've talked about doing drop shipping stuff in the past. You can go through like White House Custom, or like you said, Redbubble. There's a couple other places. Redbubble, the print quality isn't necessarily the greatest. White House Customs, WCC Labs is much better, but at the same time, the return that you get from it is far less than if you were to just buy a printer and start printing yourself, or going through a local print shop or something like that. So and part of it is when you actually get it printed at a proper print shop, and White House Custom is a proper print shop as well, or mpix.com, any of these, the quality is much higher and you can ask for more. So part of it is, if you're only getting 20% return, maybe you're supposed to be selling it for a little bit more than what you're asking. But you know, that's the thing, is when I print it on my own, I can quality control, and I know the paper, and I know that the paper is amazing. It's going to hold up for a long period of time. It's going to display extremely well. So I know, then I know when I charge, you know, $45 to $85 for a print, I'm confident that it's worth that. So, and it says Squarespace is definitely a great platform for a site in e-commerce. Nice. McB says, what, are you live? Hey Nick. Hey buddy, good seeing you. I am live. Travcan says, hey Nick, sorry I'm late. No worries. Good seeing you out there, buddy. Trav always does a good job on selling his stuff too. I still have to get the color prints that you sent me framed, because they are some of my all-time favorite prints that I've ever gotten. So thank you for that, and I will get them framed at some point. The one with the green and the orange, ooh, So good. Jacob says, I'm running in and out of the office and getting more and more soaking wet. Nice. How many umbrellas have you shot today, buddy? But I'm hoping to get to the end of the project. Jacob's working through a giant umbrella project. So between Saturday, Sunday, and today, I think you've probably shot enough to do 4 or 5 zines. Jules says, we need a Paris meetup, and you need holidays from all that work you put in. Yes, and that's another thing with the Patreon effort. I know that I said I wasn't going to bring it up again, but that's another thing with the Patreon effort is there is a goal in there to be able to start doing international meetups, and I think the first 2 international meetups will be UK and Paris. Paris being the first of the 2 international, because I really want to make it out to Paris, but I just don't have it in the finances right now. So I am planning on something in the next year, hopefully, but I do need the financial support to be able to do so. Spencer says, yes, Portland. Yes, I would love to do. I have a lot of friends up in that region, and it's just a cool place anyway. It's you know, I know it's kind of like this hipster town and stuff like that, but at the same time, I just want to see the whole vibe of everything over there. Jan says, good evening, everyone. I thought I was going to be late today. Nope, you're on time. Welcome. If this Nick trip to Paris does finally happen, I may actually fly over from Ireland for it. Love the city so much. Nice. That would be amazing. Ireland is another place that I would really love to experience at some point. It will happen. Like, Paris will happen at some point. It'll happen sooner than later if we hit the goal on Patreon, but in the meantime, I'm just kind of creatively thinking through ways of trying to find the finances, because one, I'd love to just vacation, like Jules was saying, I'd love to vacation over there with Emily and just be able to experience the city. Excuse me. Ooh. But at the same time, I really do want to shoot in the city and do a meetup in the city, because there's so many of you guys that are over there. And yeah, it'd just be fun to run through the streets of Paris with all my Instagram and YouTube peeps. Alan says, awesome, I just contacted Jules to pick up that zine from him, and now I'm getting a preview. Fantastic. That's amazing. I'd truly love to go to Paris. Yes, it's so amazing. Jacob's zine is incredible. Yes, it really is. I don't even have words. Oh, thank you so much for Nick. I don't even have words for what you do for others. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. I say it over and over and over again, you know, but I truly mean it. I am here to serve, and I love putting out good work. When you guys send over good work, I love showcasing it. So, Charlie. Oh, I just lost your comment. First of all, Charlie, it's good seeing you in here. Second of all, connect your printer wirelessly to the router modem. Hello to. I don't even know what that means. That's what I've been trying to do, but it's not pairing up between the two. I don't know what's going on with that. Ricardo says, hey Nick, I'm a film photographer based in New York, and I've recently started a photography blog. I'm going to try and make a zine next. Keep up the videos, they're great. Thanks, Ricardo. Man, I just missed you. I was just out in New York City this weekend, so next time I get out there, hopefully we could get together and grab a coffee, or you could join one of the meetups and get to get a face-to-face. Jules says, Jacob, I'm ordering yours as I keep listening. Nice. John Kramer, what's up, buddy? Hello, Nick and everyone. It's been a crazy afternoon. The conversation sounds great. I'll have to listen to the recorded version. Yes. It's another one well worth a listen to. I love, Jules, I love that. Catch me on Instagram. It sounds like you're trying to like start a fight. Like, catch me outside, man, and we'll see, you know. Catch me on Insta, man. We'll see. Throw down to the zines. It just sounds funny, at least in my head. Oh, I'm in a weird mood today. I'm still kind of like I don't want to say hungover because that's not actually what I mean, but like hungover in sleep wise from the layover, or not layover, but the whole weekend out in New York. I'm still just exhausted, and I think I caught a little bit of a cold. So right now I'm in just kind of a funky, weird, fun mood. So I can't be held too accountable for all the things that are coming out of my mouth. Nice. See, again, we're talking here and people are getting to connect on Instagram, and I absolutely love that. Flaneur says, yes, quality control is one of my biggest worries. I used to use labs here in UK that I trust. Yes. It's important to build trust with a lab, and to actually be able to know who it is that's printing your work if it's not yourself. And building a relationship, because if they know you, they love you, they trust you, then they're going to pour out even more into your work to make sure that it's the best thing possible going out the door. Trev says, thanks man, happy you enjoy the prints. Yes, very much so. John says, I went to Office Max to print my work for sale, but I think it wasn't fruitful. I chose a poor paper for photographic prints. Yeah, and Office Max isn't necessarily known for the best print quality of actual photographic prints. I would say go through them for zines and stuff like that, to where, not that the print quality could be less for that, but it just makes more sense for their type of printing in that way. But for a fine art print, I would say go through more of a reputable print shop or something like that. Spencer says, I go shooting in Portland every Saturday I can. And then Charlie says, it's not all hipster vibe, and we don't use umbrellas often, LOL. That's funny. Paul, what's up, buddy? Hey Nick, running through Paris? That's the first thing I heard. Yes, I would love to be running through Paris right now. We get you all around in all the cool places. It's honestly, I've been, over the last year, well, last 6 months really, most of the books that I've been purchasing have been specifically about Paris. I haven't actually purchased too many books recently. My bookshelf is legitimately packed full, both in the bookshelf and then on top of the bookshelf. I would move the camera over there, but it's an absolute mess. So I've kind of held back on purchasing more books. But a lot of the books that I have been purchasing have been just all about Paris. I just really want to see it over there. Jacob says, dude, Charlie, I use a rain jacket here in New York City, is crazy filled with umbrellas. It's ridiculous. Yes, there's tons of umbrellas all over the place. And then there's tons of broken umbrellas. It's like mayhem all over the place. Like umbrellas as far as the eye can see. A little old lady stole my umbrella this weekend, if you could believe it. She was probably like 96 years old, and she muscled me out of my umbrella. Old Granny Brella, they call her. It's a terrible thing. You could ask Jacob about that story. We had a lot of fun this weekend. I would say I'll throw this bold statement out there and say that Jacob Murphy is by far my all-time favorite person to shoot with in person. We hit the streets strong this weekend, and we were working corners like crazy. So yeah, any chance I get to shoot with Jacob, I am more than pumped to shoot with him on. Spencer says, Tri-X 400 or T-Max 400? I love both. I would say T-Max 400 is for me, I don't know, they both have very distinct characteristics. T-Max 400 gets sharper as you push it. It's just nuts on what that film will do. I've pushed it to 6400. I've done one roll. Maybe no, 6400 is as far as I've pushed that. I've pushed Tri-X to 12,800. But Tri-X at 6400, the grain just starts getting big globules, which I love. I absolutely love grain. T-Max 400 at 6400 just starts getting tight grain structure, and it just blows my mind. So it really depends on what I'm going for. Trav says, today's TMT really made me rethink my approach of selling prints and zines. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'd love to hear, Travis, because I know that you have been selling stuff for a while. I'd love to hear when you start shifting some of your approaches on selling stuff, you know, what kind of successes, if there's a noticeable difference that comes from that. Just, yeah, anytime you see any noticeable differences, I'd love for you to share that with me. Jacob Murphy says, umbrellas equal a fashion statement. Yes, they do. I'm looking for a printer, but this is uneven edits, but been reading, it's difficult to get the tones right with black and white. It does take quite a bit of tweaking, but the nice thing is once you get it worked out, you could just set a preset, and as long as you're not changing papers all the time, I mean, it takes, I don't know, a few sheets to get it honed in, but once you get it honed in, you're good to go. So I wouldn't be too entirely intimidated by it. Paul says, I'm going to start planning for some type of zine or mini publication at the end of the summer. I need to shoot some new work first. Where do I start? That's a good question. I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. Maybe it was a rhetorical question. I don't know. But I would just say, the one thing that I would say, Paul, is just ask yourself, what are you most passionate about right now, and start building a project around that. Yeah. Let's see here. Hannah O'Brien says, I might not be here for the rest of the stream, so we'll say bye now to you all. If you'd like to connect via Instagram, my username is Hannah O'Brien Photography. Yes, go check out Hannah, and she actually currently has some prints for sale over on her Instagram story. So if you don't know Hannah's story, Hannah's in a position to where she doesn't get out that much. She has a chronic illness that's kind of kept her bedridden. So anytime she does get out to actually photograph is actually a very special thing for her. So her work is very, very healing in a lot of cases, to where it's one of the biggest emotional, you know, Hannah, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but from all of our conversations that we had on the live streams and stuff, I know that it's an emotional thing for her, and she's been creating work that she's really excited about. She has some amazing prints for sale over on her Instagram page and story, and she's trying to fund a future exhibition that she's doing. I think it comes up in July, so she needs to have all the funding funded from her print sales between now and July in order to actually be able to do this exhibition. So if she doesn't sell these prints, the exhibition might not happen. So if you're into supporting other artists, and if you're into really helping making someone's dreams come true, I highly suggest that you go over and check out her Instagram story and everything over there. She's been sharing stories behind some of the work today, and you'll get to hear kind of her heart behind all this stuff. But I highly suggest going over and supporting her, purchasing a print, or purchasing all the prints. I don't know. If you're in a financial position to be able to buy some new work, I think Hannah's a good place to start. So I hope that you guys will go over and check that out and just give her support, because she's been such a huge support to this community, to the channel here, and to our conversation. She's always a super active participant in the conversation. So if you guys have been around for any length of time, I am confident that you've already been following Hannah, just because she's been such an active member of our community here. So Dylan says, I know you guys are taking a little break, but when you were hustling the wedding game, how did you advertise your wedding work? I'm looking to do some portrait work this summer to help fund my zine. Dylan, it's an interesting thing, because, you know, the way that we were able to step into the wedding game is a little bit different than what a lot of people get to. I mean, my day job is I'm a associate pastor at a church, and I work with our young adults ministry. So I have rapport with all of our young adults, 18 to 30 years old. And I've been doing that for over 5 years now. And Emily and I met in that ministry, so everyone knows us. They know our story. And once again, it's, yes, we create great work. I'm very proud of the work that we create with weddings. But two, it's also building a relationship within that community, and actually knowing and loving on the people that we're looking to serve with our wedding work. So at at the point where it comes to where people are trying to decide whether or not they're going to pull the trigger on us, they already know us, they love us, and it justifies the price of our work, because we're not cheap by any means when it comes to wedding work. So the biggest thing I would say is find out where the people in your local area are that you're trying to do portraiture with. If it's senior portraits or anything like that, start figuring out ways that you could start serving that community. And put yourself in front of them, even if it's, you know, becoming an industry expert by sharing different blog posts and doing some Facebook marketing to where you're putting blog posts that aren't necessarily promoting your photography but are promoting, you know, if it's senior portraits, promoting, here's 5 things to know before you graduate high school, here's 5 things to know before hiring your you know, your senior portrait photographer, here's 5 things to know, 5 crucial, or, you know, it doesn't have to be all these 5 things, whatever reason. I guess it was because last night I did the whole 5 things video. But just creating different content that's going to serve them well. And then, you know, you're creating and pushing out content that's serving them. And then at the back end of it, you get to ask for the sale. You know, you get to say, hey, by the way, I also do senior portrait photography. And I don't know if you're trying to do senior portraits, but that's just the example that came to mind. So hopefully that answers your question. One of the big things too that I would say is there's a thing that we'll probably talk about, and I think we've talked about it in the past, but we'll probably revisit the subject in the sales section, is this whole thing called a 80-20 rule, or I would even suggest 90-10 rule. There's a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, if you're familiar with him. He's a big in the whole social media marketing and everything like that, and in entrepreneurial sector and everything. And he has a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook, which a lot of people think is a new concept. It's not a new concept. It's been called the 80-20 rule for years. He's just put it in the terms of social media in this context. But what it is you're offering 80%, or like I said, I would even say 90% of just serving content, where you're giving content for free and you're not asking for anything in return, and you're just offering as much value as you can to someone. And it's just value building content. Here's how I can help to serve your business. Here's how I can help to serve your life. Here's how I can help bring value into your different relationships, whatever it might be. And then 10% of the time you're actually asking for the sale. 10% of the time you're giving that marketing punch, to where you're going, hey, by the way, I also have this thing for sale. Hey, by the way, I also have these prints for sale, or this zine for sale, which I don't think is any mystery as to why a lot of my work sells so well, is because, you know, I'm hitting the market and trying to give as much content for free as I possibly can, to bring as much value as I possibly can to you guys over and over and over, week after week after week, on multiple different platforms. And it's not so that I could position myself to ask for the sale, but because I'm doing that and because I'm serving the community, it puts me in a good position when I do and when I have to ask for the sale in order to fund different projects and stuff like that. So people can sniff out real quick when you're trying to just butter them up for the sale. So I would say genuinely want to serve people first and foremost, and then on the back end, they'll be much more open to you asking for the sale. That was a big long tangent, but Dylan, hopefully that answered your question. John Kramer says, FYI, for selling my prints across the internet, coffee shops, etc., I use a product called the Value Pack from a company called matboardplus.com. Interesting. John, what's that all about? Value Pack comes with a matte, backer board, and clear bag. Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Nice. I buy all that stuff individually, so it would probably make more sense to just buy the Value Pack and have it all come in. And interesting. John, if you would, could you send me over a link to that over on Instagram? I'd love to look into those. Oh, I see. It's matboardplus.com. Okay. I'll check that out. Let's see here. Trying to get caught up in. So Paul's question earlier was, he said, in terms of zine, I know what I want to shoot. I mean, in terms of actual printing, etc., companies, services, etc. Okay, sorry, I misread that comment earlier. I just read a little bit of Jacob's comment next. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is as far as printing with zines, I always suggest trying to find a local printer and building a relationship with the print shop. They can do things for much more cost effective and time effective than oftentimes we can. At the same time, I value zines like what we were talking about a minute ago with Jules' zine. And I mean, this is all handmade. He punched everything and threaded everything, and he printed all this by himself, excuse me. But so I think that this has complete value as well. But if you don't want to go down that route, I wouldn't suggest, I don't know, I'm just not a big advocate of blurb. The profit margin just isn't there, the quality isn't there. I've seen some that have been printed well, but in order to print well, you have to go with premium printing, premium paper, and everything like that, and it starts to cut into your profit margin like crazy. And now all of a sudden you're having to charge $50 for a zine, and that's not what a zine is supposed to be in the first place. That's a book price, you know? So, yeah, I would suggest going down that route. Jacob says, dude, you're lucky that lady didn't have a cane, haha. And yeah, it was a blast putting the pedal to the metal out there, yes. I didn't actually get mugged by an old lady. I gave her my umbrella because she was getting soaked. And because I couldn't figure out how to shoot and hold the umbrella at the same time, so it was just getting in my way. Nice. Spencer Reed says, just became a $50 Patreon person. Good luck, man. Thank you. Wow. Are you telling the truth right now? That's amazing. Like, we need to pause and celebrate that. If you're telling me the truth right now, that's amazing. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I am like more than humbled. Wow. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's joined on Patreon. It doesn't matter if you join on at the $5 level or the $50 level. I'm completely humbled, but that blows me away. So thank you so much, and I am excited for what that means for our relationship together, because that means that we get to do some coaching calls and different things like that. So Charlie says, Paul, sometimes many of the pro level print shops will give you a small pack of paper sample so you can see if you see and feel the texture of the types of paper. Yes. There's all sorts of different resources that you could ask for when you reach out to people on, or these larger print shops. Oftentimes, I know that we have some around here. I don't think I have any on hand, maybe underneath my desk. Let me check. No, don't. Ooh, I found a lens cloth though. I've lost that. But yeah, they'll have these different paper samples that they'll send over to you. And if you do end up going the Blurb route, you can order a sample pack from Blurb too. And they do have different print like qualities and different resources that they could show you through that kind of stuff. So Himosabi says, if I wanted to send you some of my work, how can I do that? You could send it to my P.O. box, which let me double check right here. Yeah, so if you look in the description of this video or the description of any of my videos, my P.O. box is down there, and you are welcome to send over some stuff. I absolutely love getting stuff in the mail. Actually got a really cool postcard today alongside of Jules' zine. So I got this postcard from someone, I think I know who this is. Says, hey Nick, happy summer. I did this with Holga in Rhode Island. What a fantastic postcard. I can't quite read the signature, but I think it's Dave Walland. I don't know. But yeah, so anyways, I would love to receive something from you. Like every time I go to my P.O. box and there's something from the community, it literally, I've been brought to tears multiple times by the things that people send over, and I don't take it lightly. So thank you guys. Michael says, I'm going to have to call it a night. Great chat again, Nick. Thanks to everyone who has contributed to the conversation tonight. Always a pleasure. Take care. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. I've enjoyed our conversation over on Instagram, and I look forward to doing the follow-up conversation for what we were talking about at the end of last week. So, Dylan says, Nick's a mind reader. I was actually thinking senior portraits. Fantastic. I have a lot of funny church jokes that I can make with that, but I'll save you guys my stupid humor. Let's see here. Is bulk loading less expensive than buying single rolls? Yes, it is. It's quite a bit less expensive. So for HP5, I think it's like $7 or $8 for a roll. I could be wrong. Maybe it's $6. But at the same time, with HP5 bulk loaded, I get it for $3 a roll. So it's incredible. You get about 20 rolls of 36 exposures out of a 100-foot roll, and they're going for about $60 right now. So there's times where I've gotten it for cheaper. So back during Valentine's Day, there was somebody on eBay was selling. They had 3 boxes of HP5 bulk selling for $55 a piece, but then there was also a Valentine's Day coupon on eBay. So I ended up getting each box for like, I think like $48 a piece, which at $50, get 20, you're broken down to about $2.50 a roll, which is amazing. So, which also makes it a lot more, you know, easy and cost effective for me to go out to New York and shoot 32 rolls in 3 days. I get a lot of questions on how I'm able to shoot so much, or why I even shoot so much, which I think I might make a actual dedicated video to that soon, because I have some thoughts in different things on that. But anyways, hopefully that answers your question. It is much more cost effective. It's also much more cost effective to go in and start developing and scanning your own film versus sending it out to the lab over and over. So Charlie actually made a good point that I always forget to mention, because I just think solely in terms of Ilford when I'm buying bulk. But he said that it depends on the film. On many, yes. On some, it's a wash, which has kind of changed in the recent months, because Kodak's film for the longest time was an absolute wash, no matter whether you purchased by the roll or by the bulk. But recently they just lowered a lot of their bulk prices, so you could get Tri-X for and I think T-Max for about $75 a bulk roll, which isn't as cost effective as HP5, but at the same time it's much more cost effective than purchasing their rolls individually. So but then there's still some others that are kind of hard to find, or specialty films that it really makes no difference depending on either or. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to get caught up here. Jan says, thank you, Jacob. Your work is amazing. God, I miss New York City. Thank you. Sure. Let's see here. Thank you, John. Let me know if you'd like a zine. Nice. I just bought one. Sweet. Gosh, I love this. I love watching. Oh, yes. The community is so amazing. Charlie says, LOL, Nick, you need one of those mount on the top of your head umbrellas. Yes, I do, and I've literally thought of that so many different times. But as if I didn't. Charlie, you've never seen me shoot street, like legitimately shoot street. There's a difference between my point of view videos in Grand Rapids and then the way that I shoot street in New York City or Chicago. I'm much more aggressive in the larger cities. So as if I didn't already draw enough attention to myself as is, because I put myself in people's way. I think at the same time, you know, running around shooting with one of those umbrellas on my head might make people that I'm shooting more responsive to laugh than actually get offended. So I don't know. I might actually take that up and use one of those out in Chicago for a day just to see what the response is from people. And I'll do a point of view video just so we could capture all the responses too. Alan says, yeah, I did my latest zine on Blurb, which is super handy, but I kind of regretted it instantly. Next time I'll definitely print it locally. I just didn't have InDesign to put it together this time. Yeah, no worries. And I do want to find another. I'm looking around and trying to source different options for building zine layouts and templates. To where it's not too, like, you could do it on GIMP, you can do it on you know, Photoshop and all these different things, but it's pretty labor intensive in that way. You're in it for the long haul, and I know because I've built a lot of book projects and a lot of my zine, or my first zine and zines in the past, different projects that I was working on that essentially were zines, but I wasn't selling as a zine. I built those all in Photoshop. But when I switched over to InDesign, it legitimately didn't just cut it in half. It cut it in, like, you know, 1/10 of what I was spending as far as time-wise on building these projects. So I'm trying to find some other alternatives for InDesign. As of right now, I'm not too familiar with a whole lot. I have one that I have to look into, but hopefully I'll be able to find some other programs. I also know that Lightroom has a pretty decent book module in it, so I just haven't started diving into that. We'll see what that looks like. I'm sure, like, the thing is, I'm sure Google has to have some sort of processing engine out there, just because they're already coming out with everything else. There has to be some sort of layout engine in there, and maybe it's in their Google Docs, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna kind of play around with some of that stuff and see just what the capabilities are on some of that, because I do want to. Was not joking. Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. Like, that blows me away. I've been so excited for whoever joins in at the $50 level, because that means that I get to start doing coaching calls and helping people on a one-on-one basis. So I'm so pumped on that. Let's see here. Charlie, you should have seen him, man. I was dying. Too funny. Yeah. I like Jacob. My photos that I'm looking forward to most from you and Anna are actually the photos of me trying to shoot with the freaking umbrella in my hand, because that's just, it was ridiculous. So let's see here. Peter says, I just got my very first bulk roll of Tri-X and my very first bulk loader on eBay, an Alden 200. Is that the, so is the Alden 200, is that the one that has the little dial that tells you how much, like, it has a little gauge that tells you like how many frames you've loaded on? Kind of terrified to load my first 100 feet of film. If the Alden 200 is what I think it is, I think it's a lot like the Lloyd tank that I have, which my bulk loading video might be able to help you out on, if it's the same kind of setup. So that's awesome, though. Welcome to the bulk loading family. Charlie says, oh man, I wish I could have seen that. I do need somebody to follow me on the streets someday and take some video. Can you print zines at Costco? You know, actually Costco has really, really good printers. I would probably even say that Costco has better printers than whatever we were talking about earlier, Office Max or whatever it is. So I would say yes. I would say that Costco might be a good route of going for printing. I do know that some businesses go through Costco to get some of their pamphlets and brochures printed. So I would give it a shot. The nice thing about Costco, their print department, is you could print one-offs. So I think it costs a little bit more than doing bulk, but you could still just print one off, check and see if you like the quality of it, and then kind of go from there. So Charlie says, I wish Berger would sell bulk of Pancro 400. Do they not? I thought they did, actually. I haven't actually shot any of that. I've wanted to try. I know that Kit Young absolutely loves it, but I haven't given any of it a shot yet. Travis says, Alan, I also used Blurb with my latest zine and instantly regretted it. Yeah. It's a good concept, just not a good I don't know. I don't want to say bad things about Blurb. Emily's sending me a bunch of kissy faces. Let's see here. What's the time? 6:26. I'm probably gonna give about 5 more minutes. I think that's my my calling card for it's getting close to dinner time, and Emily wants to spend time with me. So, oh, real quick before I forget this time again, like I forgot last time. I kind of said in last week's live stream that I was gonna make this announcement, but I don't think I did. So Emily and I are going to be doing a husband and wife podcast moving forward. We're still working on when we're going to do our first episode, what the first episode is going to be about, but it's going to be about visual arts and really 2 artists going into the visual arts, and we've gone in it from 2 different directions, but at the same time we have a lot of similar thought processes on things. So we're really going to be taking a lot of the conversations that we have as husband and wife and as artist and you know, for Emily a drawing and sculpture artist, and for myself you know, a photographic and graphic design artist, bringing those different concepts in and start having these conversations in front of a mic, to where normally we just have them late night and kind of, you know, we're sitting at the dinner table and going, hey, have you ever considered this, or what do you think about this, or have you ever seen this piece, and what do you know. So we're gonna have these types of conversations in front of a mic. So if you guys have any ideas for things that you would like to hear from that, please do let us know, because it's something that we're pretty excited going into. We don't know if it's going to be a weekly thing or a monthly thing, or we're kind of gauging what our schedules look like for that, but at the same time it is something that we're very excited about, and we're putting together the pieces to be able to step into that, and just having another aspect of being able to serve not just the photography community, but the fine art community as a whole. So if you have any questions or things that you would like to see for us to dive into, please do let us know. Let's see here. Kimasabi says, thanks Nick, I appreciate your videos, have a good night. Hey, thank you. You have a good night as well. Jacob says, now I'm picturing you shooting street with an umbrella hat. I honestly want to make it happen now. Thoughts on developing color at home? I know a lot of people that absolutely love it and do great things with it. It's just not for me. Personally, I'm mostly a black and white guy. I love looking at the world in black and white because I break it down into compositional elements. There is time for color, but when I'm shooting color, it's very, very specifically about the color. And I just prefer sending it. I don't like color management. I'm not great at color management, so I'd rather just send it off to a lab. They have profiles for what that film stock is supposed to look like, how the colors are supposed to present. So I just let them do their magic on it and let them do their work, and then I get it back, and I rarely ever have to touch it. Sometimes I adjust contrast, and then I do some spot touching, but that's it. So I like that workflow for color. I like being more hands-on for black and white. So I'm not saying don't get into it. If like, again, it's a great way of really drastically reducing the cost of developing. But yeah, anyways, it's kind of my initial thoughts. Has anyone used Printful for e-commerce? Yes, I've used Printful, not for prints. I use Printful for they actually make my hats right now, until actually right now I'm in the middle of sending my files over tonight to send all my t-shirts and everything over to a new company, because they just kind of mess up on some different things. So I've had good experiences with them. I've had bad experiences with them. I've never done any of their prints, but I also don't expect them to be anything spectacular as far as print quality. So I just throw that out there. Just proceed with caution if you're going about that. I'll take just a couple more comments, and then I'm probably going to sign out. So if you've been enjoying this conversation, give me a thumbs up down below, and just let's also, I would love for you guys to share this morning's. I really, you know, and I say this a lot, but I really do think that this morning's 2 Minute Tuesday is really going to help and serve so many people out in the community. And it's one of these things to where there's plenty of this to go around. You know, it's nothing that we need to feel like we need to fear other people tapping into the market and taking all of the finances for print sales. There's so many people out there that resonate with different artists' work, that there's should be no fear that somebody else is going to steal your sales or anything like that. So I really do hope that you guys would go and share this morning's video or even this live stream, but mostly this morning's video, to help get it in front of some more eyes. Share it on Facebook and in Twitter and whatever it might be, to get it in front of more eyes, to help others be able to start stepping into, one, more confidence on selling their work, and two, removing those mistakes of trying to sell their work so that way they can make more money. A rising tide raises all ships, and I think the more that we exceed and succeed as individuals, we start to succeed and exceed the expectations of the community as a whole, and we start to push each other up and pull each other up, and I think that that's important. So Charlie says, Spencer, there are a few videos on how to do at home, and it's easier than it sounds. The Arista liquid kit works fantastic. Nice. No, it's, I will say that I know for a fact that it's not as hard as what people make it out to be, especially if you get like the easiest way of going about it, and it's not that expensive by any means. You could get these things from eBay for super cheap, is getting a thermostat, or one of those like tank heaters for aquariums. You put a tank heater in the water and it just constantly keeps the temperature where it needs to be, and that's the biggest thing. So it's not as hard as people make it out to be. And I'm sure the color management isn't as hard as people make it out to be. It's just nothing that I'm excited about. Let's see here. Andrew says, next 2 Minute Tuesday series should be on keeping our workspace clean, because I struggle with that as well. Yeah, no, it's it's a struggle. If I'll just do this, and you can kind of see how just I have so many different things. I've been on like such a kick of work and travel and everything that I've had to kind of push everything off to the floor. I started reorganizing my office space, and then it kind of, I put it on the floor in the middle of the reorganization, then I had to stop, and now it's still all on the floor, and it just looks like a war zone up here. So I feel very vulnerable for showing you guys that. I've shared a lot of things on this channel, but just sharing that is kind of a oof. Anyways, you push 3200 all the way to 3200. I made a video on how I shoot my 3200. It's a great video. I share a lot of my excitement and some of my images from it. But in a nutshell, with non-expired 3200, I shoot it at 1600, develop for 3200. For expired 3200, I shoot it at 800 and then develop it for 3200. I go into all that in that video. So if you have any more questions about that, I highly suggest you check it out. I give a big double thumb up. Love these discussions. Thanks, buddy. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Yes, thank you. 2 Minute Tuesday live streams are a favorite part of my week. Mine as well. They get so amazing, and they just get me so hyped. So, let's hear. Did you hear about that guy that is developing film from World War II? Yes, it's called the not Salvage Film Project, but oh yes, I have heard. The videos about it are amazing. So yeah, it's incredible. It's a lot of fun to watch him go through that whole process. So anyways, it is 6:35, so it's dinner time, and I'm gonna go spend time with Emily, and we're probably gonna noodle around on the whole idea of the podcast a little bit more. So once again, if you guys have any ideas for the podcast, what you guys would like to see from us, what you guys feel is lacking from other podcasts about fine art and about photography, like I said, it's not going to be a solely photography podcast, but at the same time, it's a large part of my art form that I experience and operate in, so there will be some of that in there. But yeah, let us know. 2 Minute Tuesdays are becoming an important thing for me too. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Also, I'm thinking about changing the name from 2 Minute Tuesday just because, I don't know. I'm starting to feel kind of bad about getting these videos to like 13 minutes long, like this morning's video. I think it was like anywhere from 10 to 13 minutes, somewhere in there, calling them a 2 Minute Tuesday. So I'm thinking maybe at the end of this season, maybe we switch the name up, maybe we don't. Maybe it's just this nostalgia thing that links us back to the roots of where everything started. But let me know in the Messenger app, or leave a comment on the actual video as to whether or not you actually think that that's a good idea or not. So awesome discussion again today, guys. I'm off to bed. See you, buddy. Have a good one. Also, I'm thankful on how it brings people together to grow as photographers. Yes, it really does. And I'm just humbled to watch this community just constantly grow. So thank you guys. The chat will still roll as you guys are in here. So if you guys want to share up your Instagram handles on here, I think that would be a fantastic thing for you guys to be able to connect with each other. Maybe people can post their handles at the end of Nick's live streams. Yes, completely. I highly suggest it. So yeah, 2 hours in and not even a single bit of exposure. Yes, everyone's been waiting this whole time, not for the conversation, but to actually see Nick exposed. Anyways, thank you guys. I love you guys. These conversations are so amazing. I am so humbled that you guys stick around for these guys, the 17 that are still on here. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Give it a thumbs up if you like the conversation. I'll see you guys over on Instagram on the next video, on the next live stream. Until then, go and push yourselves. 2 stops. Peace.